Good morning, everyone. Today is June 13th. It's Saturday. It's 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST. We are here for the village gathering. And today it's about sound healing and sound and how it can affect our nervous system regulation. So we have a guest speaker today, Kiana, who's ready with her bowls in nature. And before we get started, and before I even introduce her, I want to give us a minute to do a quick poll, ask people to trickle in. And this about how we take care of ourselves. When was the last time you intentionally took an hour just for yourself? That's amazing. Everyone's done something this week for themselves. That's fantastic. So, guess what? Here is an opportunity for another hour for yourselves right now, right here today. The question that helps us figure out where we are today, right now, as we show up for this call, and then we'll do a follow up right after so we can see how much benefit we get from Kiana's session. Lately, my nervous system has mostly been tired and shut down, on edge or in fight or flight, fluctuating between the two, and then mostly steady. Here we go. So we have share results. We've got two people in the mostly steady rung. Most of us are in the middle, fluctuating between the bottom and the middle rung. And we've got a few on edge and fight or flight. And I'm right there along with you, trying to make it here in time after traveling and getting home really late last night. So let's see how we do with Kiana. And without further ado, let me introduce you to her. So Kiana Siino is a certified trauma-informed sound healing practitioner with a medical background who approaches sound healing as a preventative and complementary practice for emotional and physical well-being. What I appreciate about Kiana's approach is that she brings together both science and experience, and she helps people understand not only how stress impacts the nervous system and body, but also how practice like sound healing can create space for regulation, for restoration, for healing. And in a world where so many of us are living with chronic stress and overwhelm and nervous system overload, including me, I think this is a conversation that is especially timely. So Kiana offers both group and individual sound healing experiences, and she's passionate about helping people reconnect with themselves in ways that feel supportive, accessible, and grounded. So thank you so much for being here, Kiana. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to spend this time with you, to learn about sound healing, and to experience it today. Before we talk about sound healing itself, though, I'd love for everyone to get to know you a little bit better. So, can you tell us a bit about your background, how you found sound healing, and how much it's helped and affected you in your own life?
Yes, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to sound healing because I came to it as a participant. So I think it's a great example of how it can help you guys and whatever you're going through, supporting you physically or mentally. And I came to sound healing in 2022. Things were just opening up after COVID. There was a local yoga studio that was offering sound baths. And I was like, what is that? I think I've heard of that, but I didn't really know what it was. I had done sound-based meditations before and really loved them. So I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's something that would be wonderful. I would love to get back to that. So I went, I instantly fell in love with it because it made me feel so much better. I was going through a period of chronic stress in my life. I was working in a very busy pathology lab. I was, immersed in very toxic chemicals all day long. I was living in a house with lots of mold, and I was supporting family members through their difficult health journeys at the time. And my family member lived a 6 hour drive away. So it was a lot of commuting, a lot of stress, and also a lot of environmental factors that really had a big impact on my body. Um, and what that meant for me is that I was dealing with a lot of chronic pain, a lot of chronic fatigue, and a lot of GI issues. That's pretty common for a lot of people, especially when we're going through periods of stress in our lives. And I found that when I went to a sound bath, I would creep in every week, so tired and sore and achy and lay down. And by the end of the session, although I wasn't fixed, I could get up and stand up straight and walk out like an able-bodied person because of the effect on my nervous system really interrupting that stress response and getting me out of the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system state into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous state. And that had a really positive knock on effect for me. When we're in that fight or flight, and those of you who have been in the village for a while, this will sound very familiar. Kelly went over this a lot last time, and Priyanka has mentioned it a lot as well. That sympathetic nervous system state, that fight or flight, it makes us really aware of our surroundings. That's really great if you're, for example, walking down an alleyway late at night and you're just mindful of any potential threats. That's kind of what that state of mind is for. When you get stuck in that state, for example, if you're stressed at work and you've got all these emails piling up and you've got a big project on, and that's not stress that will go away once you walk in your door at night, that can really start taking a toll. Just as one example, if you're in the fight or flight, you might not be digesting properly because your body is routing all that energy into being hyper aware instead of helping you digest your food. And that will have a knock on effect throughout your entire system. And that's certainly what was happening for me at the time. And sound really supported me in my journey to get those stressors out of my life. And it gave me the time that I needed to make big life changes. It wasn't a cure. It didn't remove the mold from my house. It didn't make work less stressful, but it made me feel better every week. And even though the symptoms of stress would creep back in during the week, it gave me enough time and support to make the changes that I needed to do. So that's a little bit about me and
That's
how I
amazing.
came
Thank
to
you for
this.
sharing that. Yeah, how you came to this. And then, so it sounds like you found the benefits and then wanted to dive deeper into this.
Yes, absolutely. So when it became really apparent that I couldn't continue living the way I was living, I had a lot of big decisions to make. As I said, I was working in the lab, I was living in the UK, and I was like, okay, I have to stop all of this. I can't work there anymore as much as I loved my job. Oh, what am I going to do next? And timing was great. I just happened to have this opportunity to take a certification course in sound healing with my practitioner's teacher at the time. And I thought, well, this is something that's been so helpful for me. I would love to help people in the way I've been helped. And I see it as like a really supportive practice for people who are going through other things. It's a great collaborative practice with other forms of medicine, and it's a great preventative as well. If you can interrupt that stress cycle early enough and often enough before your body gets into a more stressed state that you need more intensive medical intervention. So I got my first certification, realized it was such a deep, broad subject that I needed to study more. Immediately enrolled in a 14-month intensive certification process that had a lot of science and theory in it as well. And that made my little science heart happy because there's actually been a lot of research into sound and music therapy over the past 15 years or so. And I think that's wonderful. This is a practice that has been around for thousands of years, but it's nice that we're finally understanding how it works and why it works the way it does. So I would love to tell you guys a little bit more about that too, because I know we have some other sciencey people in here.
You got it. Let's dive right in. How does it work?
Okay, so I've got some notes so I don't muddle things too much. So I talked a little bit about how it switches, well, not how, but that it switches you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system states. And I want to give you a little bit of information about how it does that. So the primary way it does that is using brainwave entrainment. And I'll tell you what that means if you're like, that sounds strange. And like, what is this brainwave entrainment? So you've probably all seen, get them on desks sometimes, the little swinging metal balls, and you can raise one and it clacks into the other ones. And at first, they go back and forth and it's a little bit random and they're knocking into each other. But then after a few seconds, they start to regulate. And then eventually they all start swinging at the same time and they're not knocking into each other anymore. Now, that is entrainment. And that's what I do with sound and your brain waves. And there's a few different ways that sound healers typically achieve this. What I do is I use pattern and repetition. So our brains really love pattern and repetition. And I find it very helpful to lean into that. And if someone comes into one of my group sessions, they've had a stressful day, their mind is racing, they're busy, they can't shut off the chattering in their brain, and they lay down and they're having trouble focusing. I might, for example, start playing quickly and use like a quick repetition to meet them where they're at in their energy levels. And then I can get on the same wavelength with them and their sound and together bring it down. I will slow my pace. And once I'm entrained with their wavelength, they'll just gradually drop in with me.
So I'm curious, Kiana, when you say repetitions, are we talking about frequencies?
Yeah. So when I say repetition, I mean like a pattern of notes. I'll
Okay.
play three or four bowls in a pattern, and the brain will latch on to that. And different frequencies. Oh, I'll talk about frequency in just a minute, actually. Uh, so the second way that people, sound healers, often use this is by not using patterns at all. And this is another very common technique if you've been to sound baths in the past and you hear what I'm going to provide for you in a minute and you're like, oh, that's different. It is different. There's everyone works very differently. So another common method is using random sounds, random notes, random strikes. And the theory behind that is because brains are so fond of patterns, it can't latch onto anything. And it'll get a little bit confused and it'll be harder for people to kind of hang on to their racing thoughts because they're distracted by these random sounds. And then they can gradually slow down by themselves. And the third, here's where I'll talk a little bit more about frequency, is the binaural beats. And this is a great thing for you guys to just take home. This is something you can look up online and use just in your daily practice. This is something I use all the time. Do any of you about binaural beats, just for those of you on camera? Oh my gosh, yay, that's so exciting. Okay, so for those of you who might not, um, binaural beats are a great resource to help you get into a different brainwave state. And this is where frequency comes in. And I want to tell you just a little bit about how binaural beats works because it's strange and awesome. If you're going to use them effectively, you have to use headphones. And one frequency is going in one ear, and another frequency, slightly different, is going in the other ear. And your brain creates a kind of phantom frequency right in the middle. And the way I think of this is like you look through one eye, you get a slightly different picture than if you're looking through the other eye. But when you open both, your brain merges them, it bridges the gap, it creates a coherent picture for you. And this is what's going on with the binaural beats inside your brain. It's bridging the gap between those two frequencies going in either ear. And what this does is, depending on what that middle frequency is, it helps you drop into these different brainwave states. So, for example, If I have a newsletter to write and I'm distracted and I don't really want to do it, I'll pop my headphones on and I'll listen to an alpha brainwave track or a gamma brainwave track because those are really great at helping you focus on a specific task in front of you. If you're having trouble sleeping, you might listen to a delta track, and that will help you get into a really deep, restful sleep. So these are all over the internet. You can look them up very easily. I wanted to tell you that my favorite composer, my go-to is a man named Yuval Ron. I'll drop a link in the chat. Um, he was one of my teachers, and he's worked with a variety of doctors in different disciplines and with medical scientists at places like MIT on brain health. So he knows what he's doing, and he also has a composer background and composes really beautiful music in a variety of styles. So I recommend checking him out.
And as she puts the link in, I just want to give a quick recap. So what I've understood from you, Kiana, we've got
Uh-huh.
sound healing benefits that are not just emotional benefits of sound healing, but it can actually have physical benefits with
Mm,
fatigue, with pain, with inflammation, everything that can be exacerbated when our nervous system is not regulated. So you're basically helping our nervous system regulate. And then this, what I'm also understanding from you, Kiana, is that when we regulate our nervous systems in that one moment, but also, if we continue consistently to come back to sound healing, say a practice weekly or bi-weekly, we're bringing our vagal tone
mm,
down and
mm.
then allowing for us to be at a more top rung, if we had to say, using our rungs of the ladder, but more at a green state or a rest and digest state more often. So it helps us to stay recovered, recover quickly if we do get ill, and then process through whatever fight or flight issues quicker and get back to rest and digest quicker. Tell me where I'm wrong with this.
Yes, no, that's absolutely right, Priyanka. It's really a practice, like any meditation practice. Just practicing dropping into that rest and digest state. If you do it consistently, say once a week, it'll happen easier every time. It's definitely a cumulative practice. And speaking of frequencies and the effect on the body, it does have wonderful medical benefits as well in promoting increased circulation, oxygenating the blood, things like that, especially the lower tones. And I think in sound healing, we talk about like not even just sound healing, but any alternative practice, we're always like, oh, the high vibrations, we want to raise our vibration. But I want to speak up for those low vibrations too, because the low frequencies are really where it's at in terms of physical healing. Uh, I occasionally work with people who have, for example, had hip replacement and they've got a lot of swelling. And the low frequencies in the bowls really help just get things moving again when they might not be able to tolerate like a hands-on massage, but could benefit from a little bit of extra support and stimulation in that area. And sound can be really helpful there as well. So, especially when stress is taking that toll where we're sore, we're suffering from inflammation, it does help. The mental benefits are amazing, but also on a physical level as well, just to physically get things moving. And that's not like something you have to believe in terms of the benefits. Because I think a lot of people hear sound healing, they're like, what is that hippie stuff? Intention is very important and very helpful, but you will get the benefits if you just listen.
Very
Does
amazing.
that
I
answer
love
your
that.
question?
Yes, so it tells us that even if we don't believe in it, we can actually get something out of this. And it's not just emotional and
Yeah.
mental healing. We can get physical healing, which is fantastic because I am excited to head straight into it. Is there anything else, Kiana, before we head into the experience that you wanted to share with us?
No, I think think that covers it. We're going to have some
Amazing.
time at the end if people have any questions.
Yes. We're going to spend some time discussing, interacting, talking about binaural beats and frequencies and answering all your questions after our experience. So for this purpose of experience, I'll start off and then Kiana add in if you need to. I just want everyone to be able to get comfortable, put on headphones if available, because that's going to help you get better information, better sound from that. And then allow yourselves to receive this intentionally and take this time for yourself. I know some of us are busy trying to multitask.
Mm,
And right now, just see if you can be here with us. And it's going to be just about 20 minutes. And
yeah.
we will have our interaction discussion right after that. Go ahead, Kim,
Yes.
take it away.
Yes. Wonderful. All right. So I have changed my Zoom setting. I want to do a little sound check while you guys are getting headphones and getting yourself settled. So give me a little thumbs up if you can. Can you hear my voice okay, first of all?
Yes.
Because I know that the original sound always makes me quieter. Can you guys hear all that?
All of it, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a mini sound bath. My full length sessions go for about 45 minutes, but this will give you a good little taste. And what I do is I start off with a little bit of a guided meditation with some drumming and some toning, and then I move into the bowls. And then at the end, I'll guide you back with my voice. And let me get my ting shas out, actually, because that's a nice little addition at the end. So when you guys hear this, that means it's over. And I'll call you back. Okay. So I invite you to get settled if you can, relax wherever you are. Take a few deep breaths. And if it's comfortable for you, you might close your eyes or take a soft vision. And just begin to look inward. And as you breathe, I invite you to do a little body scan, starting at the top of your head and working your way down, noticing any spots of tension. Letting your awareness linger there for a moment. Breathing into those places. Seeing if you can relax just a little bit more with every exhale. Now, as you breathe, I invite you to envision a light. See it entering with every breath. Making its way through your system. Now, with this light comes vitality, peace, and calm. What color is this light? What qualities does it have? Is it bright? Does it shine? Now, as it makes its way through your body, I invite you to see all the old, tired energy gently exiting, gently being squeezed out and replaced. Everything that's no longer serving you is trickling out of your fingers, out of the bottoms of your feet, perhaps drifting away like smoke, or dropping away like water to be absorbed into the earth beneath you, being replaced by this beautiful light till it fills you up. I invite you to begin making your way back, reconnecting with the space around you, perhaps pressing into the ground a little bit with your feet, feeling textures under your fingers. Maybe taking a few more deep breaths here, looking around your space and coming back.
Thank you, Kiana. That was beautiful. This is a perfect time for us to do the ending poll. At the end of our time together, or at least at the end of the session, the sound healing session, I am more tired and shut down, on edge, still in fight or flight, middle run, or mostly steady in the top run. Wow, that was quick answers, everyone. We are all in the mostly steady top run. Look at that, 100%. Beautiful, amazing. Okay, as we close up on the recording and get into the interaction space, I was just hoping to let everyone know in the recording that this experience was for all of us here, and it's going to be in the recording. The discussion portion will not. What we will hopefully go through in the discussion is what we noticed during the experience, if we have any questions for Kiana, and did anything surprise us? And these are questions I want you guys to be mindful of as you think of what you'd like to share as well. So listen in. Was there a shift between your before and after state? And please share what your experience was through this. Please ask questions. And then the last thing I want people to think about is what might you take away from today's session into your daily life, into your daily or weekly practice, into your life from now on, whether it's about binaural beats or anything else. Yeah, my question to you before we stop the recording is if you could share how people can find you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have a website, ventanawildwellness.com, and I do online and in person. I know we don't have too many locals here. I say hi. But I do have online sessions every Wednesday from 6 to 7 Pacific time. So, and that's just over Zoom. And you are free to join us anytime for that.
Okay, and then in the show notes, when we have this up on YouTube, it's going to have Kiana's website and YouTube link as well. And thank you for sharing. You're cutting in and out, so I'll just share again what you said, that you do have a virtual session available on Wednesdays, and that we can access that as well as connect with you on your website, which is ventanawellness.com. The link is in the chat for anyone, and it'll be in the show notes as well. Thank you, Kiana. Any last words for the recording, and then we'll shut that off so we can have our interactive portion right now.
Just thank you very much for having me, Priyanka.
Of
This was a lot
course.
of fun.
Amazing. Okay. So we just had a beautiful discussion with the people who were there. They had a fun list of questions for Kiana, and I wanted to see if we could share a few of them. One of the questions that came up was this idea that physically, some of the notes or some of the frequencies were uncomfortable. One person had nausea, another person felt more tense, and their body just didn't like some of them. So I'd love to have you share your thoughts for everyone in the recording as well.
Absolutely. Um, so, one of the things I want to mention is that different instruments affect people in very different ways. So, if you're getting a physical response, that could be because of certain frequencies that are being put out by certain instruments. And one thing that is very common is people being more sensitive to crystal bowls. I know that I am personally. I've had really great experiences with them healing, but it's not always comfortable. For me, they can feel like nails on a chalkboard. really beautiful sounding nails on a chalkboard, but it's like my ears go, "Oh, what a beautiful sound," and my body goes, "Ooh," and it does tense up. So that is a possibility. If you find that you're having that kind of experience in a sound bath, it could be because of the instruments that are being used, particularly if the practitioner is using crystal bowls. It's not just you, you're not weird. It's a very common response, especially to crystal bowls. So if you're feeling that way, just take note of it. I know that you're not the only person.
Interesting. Thank you. And then the other thing that came up as one of our participants shared that she has synesthesia, and another one's like, yes, thank you for sharing that because I have that too. So can you share a little bit about synesthesia, what it means, what it could be that they are noticing?
Yes. So synesthesia is when you can feel color, not just seeing it in your mind's eye, but you're experiencing it in a different way. You're feeling it or sometimes tasting it. So if you've ever thought, oh, this tastes really purple, um, that can be an aspect of synesthesia as well. And sound healing, every session is different for every person. And a lot of people experience it by seeing color or feeling color. Other common sensations are a feeling of weightlessness or being pushed into the ground. You see visions of either things that have happened in your life or that might happen in your life. That's something that's happened to me, so you never really know. If you can practice dropping in, getting into that meditative state, you'll experience these sensations more often, and they can give you some information about things that are going on in your life. And Priyanka, you also had a really great addition to that with the ego stepping away.
It's a fun way
Um,
that someone shared with me that I love sharing if it's helpful for people is that a lot of times all these meditative processes, including with sound healing, when they work because our ego takes a backseat and that allows us to be in this flow state. And I have a very strong ego and it likes to get in the way and it's very scientific and wants to come and be like, ooh, what's happening there and take notes. And I have to remind this ego to take a step back so I can actually just be in the moment again. And I love to do it this way. I just tell it, okay, all right, I see you're coming in. Here's some popcorn. Just go sit on the side and enjoy the show. And that allows me to give myself the space to disconnect from my scientific mind that kind of sinks in. Oh, what frequency was that? Or what did happen there? And oh, what color is that? What does that color mean to me? And instead of allowing the experience to just flow through, and then the ego can come back after, and we can analyze every second of the of the experience.
Yeah, thank you. I love that mental image of just like, no, go away with your popcorn. It's going to be fine. We don't always have to know
Exactly.
what it means.
Exactly. Thank you. I think you also wanted to share, you said something from Soren Brothers that people could
Oh,
access.
yes, the Corin brothers. So this was something that came up in this session, was using your own voice as a sound healing instrument. You don't always have to get external sound healing. You can do it for yourself. And the brothers Corin were some teachers of mine who have really influenced me and been really instrumental, haha, pun, in my healing journey. And they teach you how to use your voice in a very non-judgmental way to clear your system and begin healing yourself from the inside out, which is a different kind of feeling than when you're getting external sound healing from the outside in. And it's really wonderful. I highly recommend them. They have a monthly free group where they teach people how to use their voices, and you can just have a voice positive experience in a wonderful, safe place. So I recommend checking them out too.
And fantastic. We'll have that in the show notes and the email as well. Kiana, there was one question that was brought to you about what is sound healing like from your end as the one making the sounds compared to the people receiving and listening. And you shared
Mm,
about that. And I think that's the big distinction that one is receiving and you're just open to receive versus one where you're actually having to still use your brain or your busybody brain that has to keep you on track of what you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah. And I use the bowls for which originally why I got them so I could top up throughout the week and between going to other people's sessions. It is helpful, it is great, but there is still an aspect of having to stay aware and stay present, and it is different than just receiving. When you're doing it with your voice, it's different as well because, again, you can't just go to sleep if that's something that happens to you during other kinds of meditations. But I find that when I'm doing vocal practice, I get into a really blissed out state. It makes me really happy and it fills me up. So that's another wonderful reason to try that out. It's a wonderful, like slightly altered state of consciousness that is just really positive.
It's beautiful. I think that's directly accessing our vagus nerve anyways. So that's a
Yeah.
beautiful way to do it as well. Instead of just being in the receiving state, we can actively use it too.
Yes, yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you, Kiana, for this beautiful session. I'm so glad we did this. It was so
Yeah, me
helpful.
too.